Ladies, let's be honest. Sometimes we find ourselves giving too much too soon. We pour our attention, our time, our energy into someone, and suddenly he doesn't seem to value it as much. Why? Because human nature works in funny ways. What's too available often feels less special. But the good news is, you have the power to change that dynamic, to create space, attraction, and longing. Making him miss you isn't about manipulation, it's about balance. It's about showing him that while you care, you also have a full, beautiful, exciting life outside of him. That's what makes him sit up and realize, wow, she's different. She's someone I can't get off my mind. So let's break it down into 4 powerful steps that will make him miss you like never before. But before we dive into those steps, I want to give you 8 key points that will anchor this idea. So you don't just listen, but actually live it. We all know this deep down. The moment something becomes less available, it suddenly becomes more desirable. Think about it. When your favorite coffee shop says a drink is limited edition, you suddenly need to try it, right? The same psychology applies in relationships. When you're always around, always picking up his calls the second they come in, always saying yes to last-minute plans, your presence stops feeling like a privilege. It starts to feel like a guarantee, and nothing that feels guaranteed ever feels exciting. Scarcity is not about playing games or pretending you're busy when you're not. It's about truly filling your life with so much richness that you genuinely are busy. You have friends to meet, passions to pursue, self-care routines that matter to you. When you create that natural distance, you give him the chance to notice your absence. He starts to realize, wait, she's not always available. I actually have to step up if I want her time. The beauty of scarcity is that it doesn't push a man away, it pulls him in. Why? Because it creates contrast. If he can predict every time he'll see you, talk to you, or get your attention, there's no tension, no thrill, no reason for his mind to wander toward you when you're not around. But if you remove yourself just enough, if you give him the gift of space, his brain starts filling in the silence with thoughts of you. He begins to imagine, to miss, to crave. That craving is where attraction deepens. Now, let's be clear, scarcity doesn't mean being cold, dismissive, or unavailable for the sake of it. That's not attractive. It's frustrating. Scarcity works best when it's paired with warmth. When you are present, you're all in, fun, flirty, engaging, deeply connected. But then you step back and allow him to digest that energy. That balance of closeness and distance is what creates an emotional rhythm that makes him long for more. Think of it like music. The pauses between notes are just as important as the notes themselves. If there's no pause, the melody becomes overwhelming noise. Your presence is the music, but your absence is the pause that allows him to savor it. When you master this rhythm, you'll find that he doesn't just enjoy your company when you're there. He actively misses it when you're not. So, if you want him to miss you like never before, start by looking at how available you are. Are you always at his fingertips, or are you giving him just enough space to appreciate you? When you learn to create scarcity the right way, you stop being the background noise in his life, and you become the unforgettable melody he can't get out of his head. One of the most attractive things you can do is to put your own life at the center of your world. Too many people make the mistake of revolving their entire schedule, their energy, and even their happiness around someone they're dating. At first, it may feel romantic, dropping everything for him, constantly being available, letting your life bend to fit his. But over time, it sends the wrong message. It tells him that he doesn't have to work for your time because you're giving it away so freely. And when something is too easily given, it often loses its value. Instead, imagine how magnetic you become when you show him that your life is full and exciting with or without him. You have your passions, your goals, your friends, your adventures. You're not waiting for him to make your days meaningful. You already have a meaningful life. This doesn't push him away, it actually pulls him in, because a man wants to be part of a life that's already vibrant, not one that's empty and waiting to be filled. Think about it. When someone sees you busy chasing your dreams, working on your career, spending quality time with people you love, and investing in yourself. They recognize your independence. They see that you're not relying on them for validation. And that kind of independence is irresistible. It tells him, if I want to be in her life, I have to bring something valuable to the table because she's not sitting around waiting for me. This doesn't mean ignoring him or pretending he doesn't matter. It simply means you're prioritizing your life first and he gets to join in. For example, if you have plans with friends and he calls last minute, don't cancel. Stick to your commitments. That shows him you honor your own world and won't toss it aside at every request. The truth is, men respect what you respect. And if you respect your own time, he will too. What happens next is fascinating. Instead of chasing him, you become the one he chases. Why? Because he realizes that your time is not guaranteed. He starts to think, if I want her attention, I need to earn it. If I want to see her, I need to step up. That subtle shift in dynamic makes him miss you when you're not around because he knows your world is too valuable to be taken lightly. Ultimately, putting your life first is about showing him through your actions that while you care for him deeply, your happiness doesn't depend on him. You are already whole. And when he sees that wholeness, he doesn't feel burdened. He feels inspired. That's what makes him want to miss you, respect you, and fight for a place in your extraordinary life. So many people believe that the way to make someone miss them is by spending more time with them, texting more often, or going out of their way to constantly show up. But here's the truth. It's not the amount of time you give that makes you unforgettable. It's the energy you bring in the moments you are together. Think about it. You could spend hours with someone who drains you and still not look forward to seeing them again. But you could spend 20 minutes with someone who lights you up and find yourself thinking about them for days. That's the power of energy. When you interact with him, ask yourself, what kind of experience am I creating here? Are you playful, warm, confident, and fun to be around? Or are you anxious, overthinking, and trying too hard? People don't miss time. They miss how you made them feel. If your presence makes him laugh, feel relaxed, or inspired, he's going to crave more of that, regardless of how often you actually see each other. This is why quality matters so much more than quantity. Imagine he calls you and you spend a few minutes having a light, flirty, exciting conversation that leaves him smiling. You don't need to drag it out for an hour. By ending it on a high note, you leave him energized and eager to talk again. Compare that to spending hours on the phone, repeating the same stories, stretching the interaction until it loses its spark. Which one is more likely to make him miss you? Always the shorter, high-energy moment that leaves him hungry for more. The secret is to show up with intention. Instead of thinking, how much time can I give him? Ask yourself, what kind of energy do I want him to associate with me? If he knows that being with you feels light, joyful, or even a little adventurous, you don't have to overcompensate with constant availability. Your energy becomes the magnet. It's the thing he remembers when you're gone, and it's what makes him want to come back for more. Think about your favorite restaurant or movie. You don't need to go every single day to keep it special. You remember it because of how it made you feel. The laughter, the excitement, the warmth. It lingers long after the moment ends. That's what you're creating when you focus on energy over effort. You're building an emotional memory that lives in his mind long after you've walked away. So instead of overwhelming him with time and presence, focus on creating moments that sparkle with positive energy. Whether it's a quick joke, a thoughtful compliment, or an unexpected burst of fun, that energy is what lingers. And the more he feels it when you're there, the more he'll notice its absence when you're not. That's when missing you becomes inevitable. One of the biggest misconceptions in dating is that saying yes to everything makes you more lovable. In reality, the opposite is true. A man doesn't respect a woman who bends over backward just to please him. He respects the woman who knows where her lines are and isn't afraid to stand by them. Boundaries are not barriers, they're invitations. They tell him, If you want to be in my world, here's the standard. And nothing is more attractive than someone who refuses to lower their standard just to be liked. Think about if he can call you at midnight and expect you to rush over. If he cancels plans last minute and you still smile and say, it's okay. If he puts in minimal effort and still gets all your time and affection, he learns that your love doesn't require much from him. And what requires no effort is rarely valued. Boundaries, on the other hand, make him sit up and think, if I want her attention, I have to respect her time. If I want her love, I have to treat her right. They create the very conditions that make him value what he has. Boundaries also communicate self-respect without you having to say a word. When you decline a last-minute invite because you already have plans, you're not being rude. You're sending the message that your time matters. When you don't respond immediately to text during work hours, you're showing that your responsibilities come first. When you walk away from disrespect instead of tolerating it, you're proving that you know your worth. And men find that kind of self-assurance deeply attractive because it tells them you don't need them. You're choosing them. Now, let's be clear, boundaries don't mean being cold or difficult just for the sake of it. They're not about building walls. They're about setting healthy limits. You can say no with grace. You can reschedule with warmth. The key is consistency. If your boundaries crumble the second he applies a little pressure, he won't take them seriously. But if you stand firm while still being kind, he'll start to see you as someone who commands respect. And respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. Another reason boundaries are sexy is because they create space. By not making yourself endlessly available, you give him the opportunity to miss you. You're not there at every beck and call. You have your own rhythm, your own life. That space isn't rejection, it's intrigue. It makes him wonder, what's she doing? Who is she with? How can I be more of a priority in her life? That curiosity draws him closer, not farther away. Ultimately, boundaries are not about keeping a man out. They're about showing him the right way in. They teach him how to treat you, how to respect you, and how to appreciate you. And the more he feels that he has to rise to meet your standard, the more he'll realize that you're not just another option. You're the woman he can't afford to lose. One of the most irresistible elements in attraction is mystery. Think about the last time you started watching a series that hooked you. You didn't know everything at once, did you? The plot unfolded piece by piece, keeping you curious and invested. Relationships work the same way. If you reveal every thought, every detail of your life, and every plan you have too quickly, there's no suspense, no discovery left. But when you hold back just enough, you create a sense of intrigue that makes him lean in and want to know more. Mystery isn't about being secretive or playing manipulative games. It's about pacing. It's about letting him uncover you in layers, like turning the pages of a good book. If he knows everything about you after a week, what's left for him to explore? But if he's constantly discovering new sides of you, your talents, your passions, your quirks, he stays engaged. He's drawn in by the excitement of not knowing what's around the corner. There's also something deeply magnetic about unpredictability. When you're not always responding the same way, when you're not always available at the same times, when you sometimes surprise him with a little spontaneity, you keep him on his toes. Predictability might feel safe, but it can also lead to boredom. Mystery, on the other hand, keeps desire alive. It makes him wonder, what will she say? What will she do? What new part of her will I discover today? Mystery also creates space for his imagination to work in your favor. If you don't constantly explain where you are, what you're doing, or who you're with, his mind starts filling in the gaps. He wonders about you. He imagines you outliving your life, being magnetic and captivating to others. And that image builds longing. It makes him crave your presence even more. But here's the key: mystery works best when paired with authenticity. If you're holding back just to be coy, he'll sense it. True mystery comes from living a full life, and not feeling the need to broadcast every detail. Share enough to connect, but leave enough unsaid that he's curious. Let him ask questions. Let him earn the answers. That way he feels like he's unlocking parts of you rather than being handed everything on a platter. When you embrace mystery, you become unforgettable because you're not someone he can fully predict or control. You're someone he has to pursue, someone he has to keep discovering. And in that pursuit, missing you becomes inevitable because the human heart always longs for what feels rare, exciting, and just beyond full reach. One of the smartest ways to build attraction and make him miss you is by mirroring his level of effort. Many people fall into the trap of giving more than they receive, texting constantly even when he's slow to reply, rearranging their schedule even when he barely plans ahead, or pouring affection into someone who gives back very little. That imbalance doesn't create closeness, it creates resentment. Mirroring, on the other hand, establishes a natural flow. It allows the relationship to grow at a pace where both people are equally invested. When you mirror his energy, you're essentially showing him, I'll meet you where you're at, but I won't overextend myself if you're not doing the same. If he's making an effort, planning dates, calling to check in, showing up consistently, you meet him with the same warmth and enthusiasm. But if he starts pulling back, instead of panicking and chasing harder, you give him space. That gentle mirroring forces him to reflect on his own effort, and it often sparks him to step up if he doesn't want to lose your attention. The beauty of this approach is that it protects your dignity. Instead of begging for more, trying to convince him to care, you simply let his actions guide your response. If he's showing you he values your time, you lean in. If he's not, you naturally pull back. It's a graceful way of setting a boundary without ever having to give a lecture. And in the process, he learns that your presence isn't guaranteed. It's earned through mutual effort. Mirroring also makes you more intriguing. Imagine if he sends you one-word replies, but you keep sending long paragraphs. You're teaching him that he doesn't need to try harder. But if your replies match his tone, he notices the lack of connection. Suddenly, the ball is in his court to invest more if he wants deeper interaction. This creates a dynamic where he is motivated to chase, rather than you carrying the entire weight of the relationship. Another powerful effect of mirroring is balance. Relationships thrive when they feel like a dance, one step forward, one step back, both people moving in rhythm. If you're always 2 steps ahead, you throw off the dance. By mirroring, you slow yourself down enough to let him catch up. And when he does, the connection feels more equal, more natural, and more fulfilling for both of you. Ultimately, mirroring isn't about withholding or playing games. It's about self-respect and emotional balance. It ensures that you're not pouring from an empty cup or giving endlessly without receiving in return. And the more balanced the dynamic, the more he'll miss you when you're not there, because he'll realize that keeping your energy and attention requires consistent effort from him too. When it comes to attraction, people don't miss the quantity of time, they miss the quality of moments. You could spend hours with someone and walk away feeling flat, or you could spend a short amount of time with them and walk away buzzing with excitement. That's the difference between simply existing around someone and creating experiences that truly stick in their memory. If you want him to miss you, focus less on often and more on how unforgettable you can make the time you do share. Making moments count doesn't mean grand gestures or expensive dates. It's often the small things that create lasting impressions. It could be laughing uncontrollably over something silly, sharing a story that touches his heart, or showing him a side of you that's playful and unexpected. These little sparks of connection are what his mind replays later when you're not there. They create emotional anchors, memories that pull him back to you even in your absence. Think about your own life for a moment. Chances are the moments you cherish most aren't about the clock. They're about the feeling. A 5-minute conversation with someone who really listens can feel more impactful than an entire evening with someone who's distracted. The same goes for him. If you give him an experience of laughter, depth or genuine warmth, he'll crave that feeling again. He won't miss the hours. You might have only given him minutes, but he'll miss the emotional imprint you left behind. This is why being present is so important. Because too many people spend their time worrying about the future of the relationship instead of actually enjoying the moment they're in. When you're with him, don't let your mind spiral into overthinking. Does he like me? Is this going somewhere? Instead, focus on being there, really there. Engage fully. Listen deeply. Smile genuinely. Those moments of pure presence are magnetic because they show him you're not just giving time. You're giving your energy and attention. Making moments count also means being intentional about how you end them. Leaving on a high note is incredibly powerful. If you walk away after sharing laughter, fun, or even a little intimacy, you give him something to replay in his mind. He'll think about that moment later, wishing it lasted longer. That longing is exactly what fuels missing someone, the contrast between the joy of your presence and the emptiness of your absence. The truth is, we remember the highlights, not the whole movie. So if you consistently create little highlights, when you're together, you'll become unforgettable. Even if you don't see him every day, he'll keep coming back to those moments, replaying them, missing you more and more. Because at the end of the day, it's not about how much time you gave. It's about how much life you put into the time. Absence by itself isn't enough to make someone miss you. If all you do is disappear, it doesn't create desire. It creates confusion or even resentment. What makes absence powerful is when it's paired with warmth. That means when you are present, you bring such positivity, kindness, and joy that when you step back, he feels the gap. It's not the silence alone that makes him miss you. It's the contrast between how good it feels when you're there and how different it feels when you're not. Think of it this way: if someone is cold, distant, or unkind, do you miss them when they're gone? Of course not, you're relieved. But if someone is loving, engaging, and uplifting, then their absence feels noticeable. You want more of that feeling, so your mind keeps going back to them. This is why it's so important to balance distance with genuine warmth. It's not about withholding love. It's about creating enough space for that love to be appreciated. Warmth doesn't mean overgiving or smothering. It's about the quality of your presence. A playful smile, a thoughtful message, a moment of affection, all of these leave emotional imprints. When you combine that with intentional space, you allow those imprints to linger. He's left thinking about the last time you laughed together, the way you made him feel seen, or the excitement of your last conversation. That lingering memory fuels the longing in your absence. Absence paired with warmth also builds trust. If you simply pull back without showing care, he may assume you've lost interest. But when you balance your independence with clear signs of affection, he knows you still value the connection. You're just not dependent on it. This makes him feel secure enough to miss you instead of anxious or doubtful about where he stands. Another benefit of pairing warmth with absence is that it avoids the trap of emotional games. You're not punishing him with silence or using distance as a weapon. You're showing him that your life is full, but that you also choose to invest warmth into the relationship. This balance is magnetic because it communicates two things at once. I don't need you to complete me, but I enjoy sharing my energy with you. That mix of independence and affection is what keeps a man hooked. In the end, absence alone can make someone forget, but absence paired with warmth makes someone remember. It's the sweet spot between closeness and space, between affection and independence. And when you master that balance, you create the kind of emotional dynamic where he can't help but miss you, because he knows that your presence is rare, valuable, and always worth longing for.